What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the Acura Audio Garage. Today we're going to be looking at a radio. We don't really do a lot of unboxings on this channel. We're just not set up for it. But I am excited for this radio. This is the DMX 4710S. So if you don't remember, the DMX 47S came out right when COVID hit, right around that time. And it wasn't a true Kenwood radio, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But this, I think, is a true Kenwood radio, and they really added a couple features that I think are truly important for your Acura. We're going to take a look at this radio as if you were going to install it in your Acura. So if you're watching this video and you don't have an Acura, some of the things may not apply to you. I'll give you a quick unboxing. This is a single DIN. It's a double DIN screen, single DIN. A lot of radios are going to this. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. So this is the smaller Kenwood box. You're going to have your white box that has your accessories. A lot of people think this is packing material and garbage. It's not. Your actual accessories are in here, so you want to make sure you don't throw this out. And then you have your actual radio unit. And this is what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about. This is a single DIN body, but they give you an extra little caddy here that turns it into a double DIN. This is just screwed onto the frame. You can remove this if you need to install it in a situation where you need an L like this. In your Acura, there's really no instance where this might be an advantage. Only in the lower pocket of your 04 to 08 TSX would this be an advantage because you have to trim less, but it's so thin that I don't think you'll have to trim anything. And here, let's take a look at the back. So we have our Sirius XM input, we have our AM FM antenna input, we have our GPS antenna input, then we have our iData link input. You also have the secondary iData link input here. Then we have our USB input for CarPlay, and then we have our subwoofer outputs, front left, front right, rear left outputs. Then you have a cam in and a video out, and down here is your secondary microphone. So one of the changes I really like about this radio is that it now has a mic right on the face. So normally Kenwood always gives you an external microphone, and you can still use this, you can still install it in the back. So if this radio goes in a location where it's too far away from you, you might need to install this microphone instead of using this one. But I think this simplifies your install a lot, and on a lot of Acuras, you can get away with just the built-in mic. Like your Tesla screen 0408 Acura TL has it right here. Your Android screen 09 to 14 TSX has it right here. Those MDX screens have it right here. So they're all very similar to this one where it's on the face. And if you're an avid Bluetooth caller, I recommend installing your microphone. But if you're just occasionally taking a Bluetooth phone call, then your installation is so much easier. You don't have to take off any trim to install this. You can just use the one on the face. So let's cover what else is in the box. So we have our diagram here. This must be important because it's yellow. So let's see what it has to say. So this paper right here is just giving you a breakdown of the outputs, and it also is mentioning the microphone situation. So we just talked about the change that I like. This is going to confuse a lot of people, and I'm sure there's a setting inside the radio that's going to dictate which microphone is being picked up. So make sure that if you're using this mic to change it in the settings and read these instructions, if you're using the one on the face, then I don't think this will apply to you. But in here then we have our GPS antenna with a mounting plate, our traditional double DIN faceplate, and this is the plug that changes. So this is why I say the other one wasn't a true Kenwood radio. The other Kenwood radio, the DMX 47S, had a plug that we refer to in the industry as a Euro plug. It's a traditional plug used in European markets. Kenwood on their radios has always used this harness right here. It's either a 16 pin or a 22 pin harness. This does have some wires that are missing traditionally, so here I'll show you. If you have a higher end Kenwood radio with the 22 pin, you're going to have more wires in your harness, but this is the harness for this radio. And I'll give you a quick breakdown of the wires. So your speaker wires are actually nicely paired together here, so you can't split them up. They are like actually together, like see. So these are your speaker wires. Then yellow says battery, you know it's power. Then black is going to be ground. Red is your accessory. Then you have your power continuer, your antenna continuer, so just turn on your antenna or your factory amplifier. Then we have your illumination to dim the radio. Then we have your parking brake switch. So I don't know if on this radio you can just ground this or if you need a parking bypass. We'll find out. Then you have your remote steering wheel control input. This is going to be hooked up to the brown wire in your AXWC. And then we have my reverse trigger, which is always purple white. So that's how the wiring here breaks down. And then if you're not using a parking bypass, you'll need the extension wire for your parking brake. And this is it right here. But I like to see this. This is a traditional Kenwood harness. And then here we have our warranty card and the manual. Something I didn't show you are just the screws in the bag, but everything's gonna come with screws. Something I do wanna see about this manual is what other radios are mentioned here. So here we go. So you see we have the 4710, the 40S, and the 400S. So all these are going to be extremely similar. I'd like to know the difference. I'm just going to take a quick look in the manual. I'm sure it's something about inputs and outputs. So here's one of the differences. I'm not going to be able to show you exactly, but you can see that at the subwoofers, it says DMX40S and DMX4710S only. So the 400S might only have one subwoofer output or something different. We'll see as more information comes out on those radios. But your manual's always going to break down other information that you need. So if you're curious about some wiring, I gave you some of the wiring already, but if you need more information, it's always in your manual. Okay, so I'm looking for more information about the USB media, and that's when I realized that it's not in here. So Kenwood, this is a quick start manual, not a true manual per se. So this second page has a link to where to get the full manual, and I just wanted to give you that heads up because if you're looking for information that's not in that manual, it'll be in that other document. Let's take a closer look at this beauty. So right here are your capacitive touch buttons. So these are kind of annoying if you're driving and you don't have steering wheel controls. You're trying to touch this and it's hard to know where you're touching. There is no sort of indicator. The other thing, we'll see if it happens on this, on a DMX47S, something I had a customer complain about is that if you hold volume up, once it got to 14, it wouldn't go any higher. You needed to start tapping. And that's so annoying because if you find it, you could just hold it and get louder. But once it got to 14, 15, you couldn't. You had to tap. So we'll see if that's fixed. That was part of the firmware. We called Kenwood and they said that's the design of it. So here we have our home, our menu, our voice, volume up, volume down. This is your reset button. It also has a sensor for a remote. There's no remote in the box, but it looks like it can take one. And then we talked about your microphone. It does come with a little screen protector. You can see the little tab here. I'm not going to take mine off. Then the part number is right up here. And then I'll show you more of the back. So we have our two subwoofer outputs, sub 1, sub 2. We set video out, camera in. Then we have front right, front left, rear left. Then our microphone, our 22 pin. This is iData. Then I showed you Sirius XM, antenna, GPS antenna, and then another iData Link Maestro. And then of course your USB. Your USB is going to do CarPlay and Android Auto and mirroring. So that's another feature that was added to this radio. I'll cover it more in a little bit. All right, guys, I'm going to try to get you the cold boot time right on camera. So this is from no power to power. We'll see what we get. So we got our lights on. There goes our Kenwood logo. Still loading up. There we go. So that first boot time was kind of slow. Let's see if we power off and back on what kind of speed we get. We're going to take accessory power out and then we're going to boot back up and see. So right now it's like I just turned the key off. I'm turning the key back on. Key on. Kenwood logo. And we're back in. So not the fastest boot, but not the slowest. This is their entry-level model, so don't expect blazing fast performance. All right, let's talk about some of the features of the radio. So I started messing with the radio a little bit. I'm actually going to power it off here. And the first thing I want to answer for you is, do we need a parking brake bypass, or can we just connect this to ground? So right now, the radio's powered off. I'm going to make my connection for my parking brake. So this just kind of slides in here and you force it in. And then this normally has to go to your parking brake and you have to toggle it to get the radio to let you in all the settings. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually hook this up to my ground. With my parking brake engaged, I'm able to access the guideline setup. Without my parking brake engaged, I shouldn't be able to. So right now, we'll see what the radio thinks it's going on. So I was able to access it. So it looks like I can just ground the parking brake, but I'll do more testing to verify. But right now, it looks like I'll be able to get away with that. And I'm going to go back into that same menu. So settings, camera, parking line setup, and I'm in. For the remainder of the video, I'm going to leave the parking brake wire connected to ground. So if there are certain menus I can get into and you can't, remember to take care of your parking brake wire. So I have my phone hooked up. I'm not going to turn my location on. And I will let you know that Apple CarPlay, Android Auto on this radio works with no issues. Kenwood has been a long-time partner of Apple, so they're officially supported for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. In their manual, they have a whole list of all the phones that it works for. I'll throw a screenshot on the screen. But you're not going to have any issues with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on these units. The 47S has been solid. 4710, I assume, is going to be solid. I don't see any major changes in the connection. Maybe the internals might be a little different, but so far we've had no issues with the units that we sold and the ones that we tested with CarPlay or Android Auto. And it has good angles. So the display looks good. It doesn't get washed out, and it doesn't look weird. For some reason, on some displays, Android Auto is like too light or too dark, and Apple CarPlay do the same thing. That doesn't happen on this. Let me show you CarPlay. All right, so we're connecting CarPlay real quick. So there's an iPhone 14. We are connected. And then you're just gonna always have to hit allow the first time. And there we go, CarPlay is up. And this traditional CarPlay is gonna work exactly how CarPlay works on any traditional aftermarket radio. And you could see the angles are good. It's nice and responsive. Again, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you're not going to have any issues with these radios. If you don't want to have to deal with pairing your Bluetooth phone, when you connect it with USB with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, it will auto pair. But if we are going to pair a phone, we're going to hit here. We're going to go into Bluetooth audio, and there's going to be nothing there. So then we're going to go on our phone. We're going to go to the settings. We're going to go into available devices. And you can see it came right up. I'm going to hit it. It's going to ask me to confirm both codes. I'm going to hit pair. I'm going to hit yes. And that's it. Now I'm paired. Now I can just come into here and play music. If for whatever reason I want to change it, I'm able to change it right here and with my steering wheel controls. So this is going to need an additional adapter to work your steering wheel controls. On the Acura, it's always going to be the AXWC if you buy it from us. I always recommend that piece because it auto programs. You just have to hook up the brown wire to the blue-yellow wire on the radio. If you get the radio from us or the harness from us, it'll be hooked up. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to interrupt the video real quick with an announcement. This radio is in stock and shipping. It works for any Acura that we sell a dash kit or a complete kit for. So I think we're up to 10 complete kits. So 99 to 03 TL, 04 to 08 TL, 9 to 14 TL covered. Then we have TSX 04 to 08, 9 to 14 covered. Then we have MDX from 2001 to 2013 covered. Then we have ILX 2013 to 2020 covered. I'm trying to think what else I'm probably forgetting one, but all the complete kits that we have this radio available for, and this radio is listed on our website. I want to show you now how it looks like in the dash kits. We're going to start with the Acura TL dash kit. This is the most revised one, and you can see what it looks like. So look, very nicely in there, no gaps. And then the Acura TL dash kit, thing that really plagues it is this bottom lip usually leaves a gap. You can see there is no visible gap, because this radio has enough of an outer lip or edge to sit nicely inside the dash kit with no issue. And I will tell you that if it fits into this dash kit, it's going to fit into all the other Acura dash kits. So here, I'm going to show you on our ILX dash kit real quick. You can see it's got a little bit of a lip, but you'll see that that's the common case in all these newer Acura dash kits. But you can see no gaps, nothing. It sits nice and flush, looks very nice. So now let me grab the next one. So here's a 2009 to 2014 Acura TSX dash kit. And you can see this one does have a little bit more of a gap because it can accommodate a little bit bigger of a radio, but you can settle it right in where it needs to go. So right around there you can settle it and make it work. But this is 09 to 14 TSX. Here's an Acura TL 09 to 14 dash kit. You can see it's kind of the same thing as a TSX. It sits in there, but it's just a little bit. No, this one settles good. And then you can see it's got kind of a lip, but that's just how it's going to fit in your Acura TL. So this is the 04 to 08 lower pocket dash kit. This isn't the Metro one. This is the one you can get on eBay or from us. And you can see this is going to fit nice and tight, but it's going to sit good. And then this one also has, sorry, let me get it. And then this one also has a little bit of a lip at the bottom. But you can see it sits nice and flush in there. And this isn't that deep, so it's going to be easy to install in this dash kit. This is the MDX 01 to 06. So this sits below your climate display or navigation. And you can see that the Acura MDX dash kit has a nice tight fit against the Kenwood radio. Here is the MDX 7 to 13 dash kit. And you can see that this one fits nicely in there as well. It does have a bit of a lip. You can see all the tolerances are nice and tight. The only dash kit I don't have one right now of is TL09 to 2003, but it has a very similar faceplate to this one, and actually has another piece that clips on. I'll throw an image on the screen. So I know the tolerance is going to be tight, and it's going to look good in that dash kit as well. Alright YouTube, I know this looks crazy. I'm mid-experiment here. Here's what I want to show you. So USB media plugged in. We have USB media. So there you go. So if you play USB media video here, it will show here. And if I get out, it'll continue to show on my external monitor. But if I do change the setting, so let's go, I go from USB to radio, and now this screen goes black till I switch back to USB media, and once it picks up the video is playing, then the video shows up. If we switch, so this you can't mirror, it only outputs video. The reason why I want to bring this up is because a common thing that people ask for their Acura, you end up replacing the radio. Your navigation drive ends up being a dummy. It has nothing. So you can't duplicate this display on an external display. Usually all American branded radios or USA market radios don't have this ability. This is just for your safety, and that's why they're designed this way. So one of the quirks of this radio is the volume up, and I'll show you what I mean. So right now I'm going to hold volume down, and the volume is going to come down. So you see, I'm just hovering over it, it's going down. Now I'm going to press volume up, and you'll see it's going up. Once volume gets to 15, it will no longer continue to go up this way. It will stay there until now I begin to tap it. And if I continue to hold, it will no longer do it. I have to continue to tap to go up. That, I think, is a safety feature for you and the radio. I'm not 100% sure, but it is how the radio is supposed to work. And customers have complained about this before, so I wanted to see if that was still a thing with the newer model. The backup camera view. This is the backup camera we sell. So this is the license plate bracket camera. And here I'm going to take it out of reverse and then into reverse so you can see how quick it comes up. And then the Kenwood does have adjustable lines. So this camera, it has no lines. These can be adjusted in the settings. I'm going to show you that real quick. So we're out of reverse. We're going to go into our settings. So right here, we're going to go into camera, and then we're going to go into parking guideline setup adjust. And here you can see my camera is, and here you can see my camera's up, and then I can tap this and then use these controls here to bring it in, bring it up, bring it down, so you can get them exactly where you want to be. So when you pick up this radio, if you don't grab our camera, you want to grab a camera that you can disable the parking lines, because you want to use the parking lines on the radio, not on the camera. And usually to disable them, they come with a little green loop or a white loop like this one. Now, something I want to talk to you about that's not going to apply to your Acura yet is the iDataLink Maestro connections. So this connection here, and then the other connection that is here. These connections are so that your radio can talk to the vehicle. They're used with the iDataLink Maestro module. I don't have one. I'll throw one on the screen. That module can communicate with your vehicle via CAN bus and control your climate, see your gauges, and there's other information available on that CAN bus. Software needs to be written for your Acura in order for this to work. We hope to pair up with iDataLink to write that software or help write it. Right now, if you look at their old website, you can see that they have instructions on how to write the firmware. So we started messing with that. We'll see if eventually we can reach some sort of agreement and release some firmware for your Acura. From, I want to say 2008, 2004 up to 2020, we should be able to get something together, but that's coming in the future. But this radio is prepared for that, and there are other radios that have iDataLink Maestro compatibility as well. But that's something we're not going to talk about in our review because currently none of that will apply to your Acura. Alright guys, so I set up my mirroring. I'm going to hit USB mirroring. It's going to prompt the app. I'm going to hit screen mirror. I'm going to start my broadcast. And now I'm mirroring my screen. Just give it a second to come up. There we go. So now I'm going to, don't care about calibration right now. I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm going to play a video. And there you go. This video is playing via Bluetooth audio, so you're not going to hear it. And you can't control it till you calibrate the screen. But this is how you could mirror your phone onto this radio. You're going to use that app. The app is called Mirror App Plus, and it's going to prompt you to download it when you connect your phone and hit USB mirror. And then you can also sync the photo for the background. I'm not going to cover that, but this is how you can mirror your screen on an iPhone to here to watch YouTube. You can't do Netflix, you can't do ESPN, you can't do Hulu. All those are copyright protected, so they're not going to work. But you can play your own media, so if you have a video saved on your phone, you can play it on the screen. With your Android phone, you're going to plug it in. It's going to ask you to allow the app. You're going to hit allow, then you're going to hit start now, and then it will start mirroring. It's doing the audio via Bluetooth again, so just beware of that. This does have better controls though, so like I can go back out of there and then I can go to YouTube right from here, control it with the actual screen, get that out of the way, and then I can just play any video I want. So I'm just gonna go full screen, and there you go. Now you can watch YouTube off your phone on the screen. Know that this is mirroring, so the moment you lock your phone, the screen goes black as well, so that's not going to work if you lock your phone. It always has to be unlocked and playing what's playing here to show it up here. And Netflix, Hulu, anything with copyrighted information isn't going to show up on this screen, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so that's going to cover your major functionality that you'll probably use. It's going to be Bluetooth, CarPlay, Android Auto, USB media. I will show you the radio because it's still something everyone uses. It's just simple AM, FM radio, and then you tune to your stations. Here's the button to switch from auto to manual. So instead of skipping from station to station, it goes from number to number. You'll see I go auto again, and it's going to skip to a station it can find. It's not going to find any because we're not hooked up with the antenna, but let's say that that's the one I wanted. Then on this menu here, you would pop it out and you would hold this. Now it's saved. Now I'm going to go to a different preset and then back. And now you can see there it is. And then again, auto, manual are up here. So that's really to work your radio. It's pretty simple, but they do kind of hide it, so it gets a little bit involved. And then the other thing that I want to show you comes down to your telephone. I think my phone's still paired. So you do get a keypad, your favorites, your contacts you can download, and your call history. You can come in here and pair a phone. This does support 2 phones, so you can have one for audio and one for phone calls, but it's up to you if you want to do that. Now let's dive into the settings. We're not going to cover every single setting, but we will cover some of them. Now let's dive into some of the need to knows. So this has a menu that is going to show up when you hit menu. I know that seems straightforward, but the instructions call for it, and it's very easy to forget that that's there. This will have a display to turn off, so if you're driving at night, you can turn these off and this off. You double tap it to wake it. But really what I want to use here is bring you into setup. So you can get to setup 2 ways. You can go home, hit this, hit here, or you can go home, hit menu, hit setup. Now we're not really going to cover most of these. I showed you camera earlier, connections for USB. Special is really nothing you're ever going to come in here unless you're going to reset your radio. The AV is just if you're going to turn this on and off, and there are some Maestro stuff here, but if you're using this for your Acura, again, you're barely going to come in this menu. The menu that you'll spend some time in is going to be this one, and this is going to be important if you're going to run a system. If you're using your factory amplifier to power all your speakers still, then this is going to have minimal impact. It will still have some impact, but the factory amplifier is taking care of the crossovers, the EQ curve, and the levels of the speakers. You can boost them here and stuff, and I'll show you some of that, but no, unless you're going aftermarket amplifiers, you're not going to get the full benefit of all these settings. So these are your crossovers. They're going to be under this menu, and you'll tap each one of these to work them. So on your front, you want a high pass crossover, usually around 80 hertz. So right there is good. A slope of 12 dB is fine. On your rear, same thing. On your subwoofer, 100 hertz. Sometimes I like it a little lower, around 80. But that's up to you. But that's all here. And then if you want to invert or keep it normal, and then let me go back. Speaker size and stuff. I think this is just for settings. I'm not sure if this does anything in the radio. Then we have our actual equalizer. The only thing that's important here is your subwoofer level. So if you're running aftermarket subs, you can come in here and control them. And then obviously you do have an EQ you can manipulate. But this, your factory amplifier, has an EQ already applied. So you might need to counterbalance it. It's up to you. And then you can always initialize it. This is like a bass boost. So it's up to you if you want to use it or not. We'll go back. And then position where you're listening from. Then you can put in the distance. So if you want time alignment. I don't really think you're going to end up using that in your Acura. Then this is just fader balance. Make sure all your speakers are working. This is really a testing mechanism, I feel like. Unless you are driving with kids or something, you want to put the audio to the front. Volume offset is important depending on the source. Like you'll find that the FM radio might be too loud when you switch from source to source. So if you're going to Apple CarPlay to FM radio, you might like your volume at 15 always, but you'll see that when you jump to FM, it feels like you're at 22 and it's so much louder. So you can adjust that here. I don't think it'll be that drastic. I think that's all you'll ever do. But this is a very cool feature so that all the levels of every audio source level out. Then you have sound effect. So this is specific to Kenwood, and I really like Kenwood radios because you do get your bass boost here and then some loudness support. So there's a lot of features here to get the audio exactly how you want it, from the crossover to the equalizer to the positioning. Like there's a lot of audio options here, and I think they're very clearly defined. I want to talk to you if you're a huge Pioneer fan. I think you should give this unit a try. I know that usually Pioneer people stick with Pioneer, and Pioneer has released some new units that are pretty good. We'll talk about those in another video. But I think Kenwood sound quality, Kenwood power, you can't beat. Like I know it's not a Pioneer, but I think Kenwood is the better radio, at least at this price point. And this is a solid unit. I showed you most of the features. I think for your Acura, this is going to be the best bang for your buck because you can mirror, you can watch YouTube. I know it's a things a lot of people want. Then you have Apple CarPlay, and then you have all your sound options. And I showed you the rear. I'll show you again. But this has all the necessary ports to work with your factory radio. And a very common thing we get is like, hey, I want to run the factory amplifier, but I want to run aftermarket subs. And this is set up for that with two subwoofer outputs. So I think this radio is very versatile, has a lot of features, and it's going to be a good buy for anyone who gets it. For those of you that care, instead of reading specs at you, I'm just going to throw screenshots of the specs. The only thing I will mention is this is a 6.8 inch diagonal display. It doesn't have a higher resolution. It's 1024 by 600. Your USB is only 2.1 amps. So if you care about high-speed charging, this doesn't do high-speed charging. And the other thing that I think is important is the playback. So it does do MP3, MP4. It does do some other files as well if you're going to do USB media. But I'm just going to throw that picture on the screen, and then you can go read up more information if you need it. But that's going to cover the video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're looking for this, we have the radio kits available with this on our website for any Acura that I mentioned earlier.